Okay. Welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I'm your host, Dino DeCespedes. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What's up, man?
I'm feeling all right, buddy. You know what? Life is full of wins and losses.
Sometimes
so I'm
draws.
all right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, also draws. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen here. In the group stage part of life, in the group of life, if you will. So yeah, I'm feeling all right. I'm ready to talk about these games. I'm happy to.
All right, man. Let's get into it. Big day of football. Obviously, match. I guess this is match week 1. I don't know. It's or match 4 days 1 in the books. Now all 16 teams have gotten busy in this edition of the Euros. Big day of football. I mean, there were some happy fans. There's some sadder fans. Mr. Grant Engel, where do you want to get started? And why is it France-England?
It has to be France-England because this was the heavyweight fight. I understand Netherlands are contenders also, but when you got two of the top 10 national teams in the world, according to FIFA at least, England number 5, France number 10, we got to start there. And I got a beverage. We're recording this a little later than usual. It's not going to change anything. I'm still thirsty.
Thirst don't stop. Cheers.
That's right. Cheers to you. Cheers to the football. And is it worth mentioning that I got the big beer as a celebration beer ahead of time, where I was just like, we're going to celebrate this England victory. I'm going to be extra thirsty. Real happy about this England win. Norway already won. Now England's going to win. I'm going to feel great. Not so, my good man. Final score, France 2, England 1. And it was not particularly pretty, especially in the first 45 minutes and kind of after that, at least in my view. Where would you like to get started on this match?
I mean, a bunch of places we can start. Obviously, Lauren James in the lineup. Jackie Oatley, the Goatley, in the lineup, up in the booth, which meant we got to hear a couple different iterations of Lauren James, which is just always very. I mean, it's just it's like butter. It's like butter on a nice English muffin there, right? So LJ starts, and she's. I thought both teams looked very tense early, very tight. Kind of the game looked a little choppy. I didn't really like the look of it early, and then England gets the breakthrough, not quite against the run of play, but against the general run of play for the full match, because I didn't think anything really good was happening prior to that. But ultimately wiped away. But when you saw that, what was your feeling? Were you kind of feeling encouraged with that breakthrough, or was it like, oh wow, we didn't really deserve that, we kind of stole one here? Or what was the feeling? What was the feeling on your end?
Any England goal is a deserved goal. Just let me get that out of the way.
Fair enough. Yep.
No, I thought there were a couple spots where they could have called offside because, when it first happened and then they showed the immediate replay, I thought the offside call was going to be when Meade plays the ball all the way back across. I thought Russo was in an offside position and then made a move. Yeah. But she kind of impacted the way defenders were going to react to the ball. And so that's what I thought they were going to get England on. I think they eventually, they called Meade offside, but that I was fine with the call. Somebody was offside on that play by the letter of the law. And, that's fine. Fair play to the ref. I just thought it was what was going to happen. I expected an up and down game. You have, look at the talent on both of these 11s. I'm always curious, when pundits or fans go into these type of big games and think we're going to crush them. And it's as our pals who watch this podcast know, I'm a big American college football fan. And one of my favorite phrases that I learned when I was a kid is, the other kids are on scholarship too. And in this match, the other players get paid too. The other players are superstars too. They have no shortage of talent over there. I didn't expect it to be easy. It would have been foolish to think it was going to be easy. Now, did I expect England's midfield to be, let me check my notes here, a fucking disaster for large parts of the game?
Wow.
No, I did not. I did not expect that at all.
Baru toll. I mean,
Awful.
the English midfield got dominated by
Yeah.
France, and I think this is an extreme oversimplification, but I went to go look at FOTMOB because I'm like, I will bet that the three French midfielders all outranked English midfielders, and they sure did. Gayorio, Sakina Kachaoui, Oriane Jean Francois, 7.5, 7.1, 6.9. The highest English midfielder, Kira Walsh, 6.8. Stanway, I think, had a really rough game too. 6.3, LJ 6.0. I think Stanway only had 30 touches or something like something really paltry. Same for LJ. I think they were both in the low 30s, which is wild when you think about this as a defending champion. These are two excellent midfielders. Kira Walsh got a little bit busier, but they just kind of kept getting dominated. And then on the other side, Gayorio, Sakina Karshawi were, I mean, pit bulls out there. Like they were just,
Yeah.
they just were immediately ready to take the ball back. And then when they were on offense, they were playing like England couldn't take the ball from them. Like it was just like, all right, come get it. And a super long day for that English midfield.
And it's funny, and this is where the stats in football or in any sport can be a little misleading. So Stanway and Walsh, they both completed around like 83-84% of their passes, but it was the passes that they didn't complete in like spots where England was just starting to get the ball upfield. They were just kind of like they were going to have a measure of control. And it was so uncharacteristic from both Stanway and Walsh in a couple of key spots where they just gave the ball away like pretty cheaply. And I was like, yo, like, who are these players? Like, because they don't do that very often. I mean, you're one of the foremost Kira Walsh appreciators on these internet streets. And like, that's 6.8 FOTMOB rating, or however we want to pronounce it. That's aided by the great goal that she scored at the end. Take away that goal, and it's a weird hypothetical, but like, if that gets saved or it's off the crossbar, she's hovering more around 6.0 also. And I know, player ratings are subjective. They're not everything, but she didn't play that well, like over the broad course of the match. And England was doomed because of it, if you ask me.
I agree with that. I mean, they just couldn't move the ball along. They couldn't kind of string together possession. And then the flip side was France could do that, and like, I think as the game kind of wore on, the other thing that really was trippy was when the Russo goal gets called back. That's usually the moment where France kind of wilts mentally. It's like, okay, first half goal within the first half an hour, marquee matchup, everybody watching, this is closing out, match day 4, closing out the first round of group stage matches, like literally. And that's really where France, that's where it goes, 3-0 England or 3-1, like it just, sort of like snowballs. And instead it went the other way. The call gets turned, nothing really that France did, but I think they maybe collectively were like, all right, let's kind of get it together. And a few minutes later, that's when Karshawi almost chips Hannah Hampton, and now it's like, all right, now they're starting to, get a little bit, more, gumption in the attack, a little bit more confidence. And then the goal to Katoto, like 2 passes, like it's 2 passes that breaks the entire England defense. And then it ends with a Katoto tap in. Like, I mean, I couldn't believe, De Almeida loops one around Jess Carter, Cascarino then loops one around Alex Greenwood to get it to Katoto. And then the simplest of I couldn't believe that they got beat that easily. And then that kind of sort of kept happening, to your point, in spots where it was just like, this is very, very troubling.
Jess Carter is an excellent player, and she plays in, the NWSL. We talk about it as an extremely competitive league. She is a center back. And I understand because she is a good soldier with good athletic character by everything I've ever read. When Serena Wiegman asks her to go out there and play left back, she'll go out there and do it. She was getting flambéed by Delphine Cascarino, and she wasn't having much success against De Almeida, to your earlier point. De Almeida, who we see play center back for PSG, like De Almeida looked awfully comfortable back there
Oh
on
yeah.
the right wing, playing right back herself. And Carter, you could tell from the 8th minute, this is going to be a problem out there. And
Yep.
it didn't help. And, again, one of the patron saints of this here podcast, Lucia Big Game Bronze, she was having a hell of a time taking on Sandy Baltimore too. And it was just like, okay, if that's what the two wings are going to look like, we're in serious trouble.
Absolutely. And I think Baltimore, I want to get to the Baltimore goal. So obviously, France goes up 1-0, kind of against everything that we're used to seeing. And Lori Lindsay, credit to Lori Lindsay, she was talking about this, that the midfield problems necessitated Russo dropping deeper to kind of help.
Way deep.
But then the problem is that you have Russo in the midfield battling fucking Gayoro and Lacroix, and it's like, dude, you don't want that either. Like that's not the solution, And on that play, Russo gets stripped by Lacroix. Like the ball, it's a little tap in ahead to Jean Francois, a little tap ahead to Baltimore again, and then Baltimore. I mean, in this moment, she just basically dispatches of Lucia Bronze. Like Bronze is on the floor. Gets around Williamson. Bronze tries to hit it to her, back to Baltimore, and then Baltimore just stings the ball into the very top back corner of the net. And something about that kind of felt a little personal. If I want to play a little body language doctor, I think she's looking at Lucy Bronze, she's looking at Kira Walsh, she's looking at Lauren. She went at Lauren James a couple times too, and was like, "I'm going to go at you a couple times." Hannah Hampton, these are all her Chelsea teammates. And then the Selly, I think it was kind of like the points of the year. It's like, all right, look, can I hear you? I think from that point, and then with the other hand, she hits him with the too small. So even though the goal goes to VAR, the too small Selly damage was done. It's over. Like it was a wrap at that point. I'm like, I don't care if it gets called back. The emotional, the psychological damage, from the too small celebration, just enough to pretty much end it right then and there.
She is fantastic. I mean, we've been talking about Sandy Baltimore since this podcast started. I mean, she's just a phenomenal player. I don't think she gets enough credit for what a genius she is on the ball. Like, everybody sees the speed, but she is such a good decision maker, when to pass, when to shoot, when to pull up and recycle. Like, I mean, she's just absolutely fantastic. And I'm glad you mentioned Grace Gayoro too. Shout to her, man. I thought she was phenomenal out there today. England couldn't do shit with her. And, she was just bossing that midfield play. Yeah. I mean,
Oh, no, I was going to say real quick, Karshawi, who played a bunch, at left back. And I think she played either left back or right back at the last World Cup. But definitely a ton of minutes left back for PSG. They found a home for her in the midfield. I think she might have moved there too. For most of the club season, but that was a great solution to kind of find a spot for Karshawi. He was also incredible today.
Another genius player. I mean, this is what we're talking about. Like, and England has them too. So I'm not going to try to act like I'm just like, oh, England, doesn't measure up to France. They do. Right. Not today though. And like you could see Karshawi's brilliance on full display. The thing is, like, if we're going to talk about foot mop ratings here, Basha had an 8.0 rating. In the run of play, I don't even think it was that much of a Basha game. That's the one thing that maybe opponents should be kind of afraid about, is that like Basha was fine. That wasn't peak Basha ball. And, as the inventor of Basha ball, please tell me if I'm wrong here.
It wasn't a Basha ball game, but I thought Basha was really good. She had the block off the line really late. That was massive. I mean, that could have been an equalizer. Defensively, I thought she was really good too. Her passing was on point. Her entries were on point. It's just so nice to see that ball come off her boot and just kind of, it just looks like a golf shot going down the fairway on CBS on a Sunday afternoon. It's so gorgeous of a ball. And speaking of Basha, that number 13 blue and salmon France kit with Basha on I was like, I'm gonna put that on my Santa Claus list. I would definitely rock that Basha. I mean, just what a sick kit.
Yeah, it's a great looking jersey. And it helps when they're just beating the brakes off the rating Euro winners.
Yep.
I think the last couple of points Karshawi, Gayoro, Basha, De Almeida outplayed Walsh, Stanway, Carter, and Greenwood pretty significantly. You're not like, if
Mhm.
you're England, you're not going to win in that scenario. The possession, this is the funny thing too about the possession. It was 57-43 in favor of England. That is probably, and maybe I'm doing some prisoner of the moment stuff here, but that is one of the more misleading numbers that I've seen from a match in a while. One that really
Yep.
jumped out to me. And it's not even that I think, like we talk about sometimes when a team will hold the ball, and I often describe if a defense can kind of make your attack aimless, like
Mhm.
that can be
Yeah.
a real problem. I don't even think it was that aimless. It was more careless the way England was like holding
Yeah.
their possession. And even when they had the ball, they were under duress the entire time. And I just think that like France did all of that incredibly well. And up until those last like 10 minutes of regular time and then into stoppage time, after England made some pretty key changes, I think there was just a little bit of England, knew they had to push. It was kind of like some like desperate champion kind of stuff in that late stage of the match. But I mean, even all that considered, France was just the better team on the day. This was the right result. There is zero doubt about that in my mind. And it sets up for a massive,
Ooh.
massive match on Wednesday.
Oh my God. Yeah. Before we get to the team that they'll be facing in that massive match, I just wanted to echo one of your points because you read off 4 French players and 4 English players, and we'll go to the French players first that you mentioned: Karshawi, Gayoro, Basha, and De Almeida. Picture those players defending on this day.
Hmm?
All of them nasty, like just within a foot of like wherever the action was. And then on the other side, think of how Kira Walsh defended Stanway, Jess
Right.
Carter, and Alex Greenwood, the 4 that you mentioned. It's just kind of like nowhere near at the same
No.
level. And I think this could prove to be somewhat of an issue for Serena Wiegman. I'm not really saying it's going to be an issue, but it could be an issue. I think in retrospect, when we look back, that this team is made up of really great offensive players from the
Yeah.
midfield forward and the forward room as well. And not saying that they can't defend, but you look at some of these other teams and what they're doing. When you look at what Sweden was doing from a team defending standpoint. When you look at what France did today from a team defending standpoint, I thought the Netherlands also. We'll get to them, also really good. Just from everybody just locking all of this down. I'm not sure if England has the roster makeup to be able to say, okay, when we're on defense and they're really good too, to your point, can we stop them? When we don't have the ball. And I think I'm not sure if this roster is the right setup to be able to play that kind of football if needed.
They had to make the change at the hour mark. I thought they were going to make the change, honestly, at halftime.
Mm,
And again, like I like Jess Carter. She's a good player. She's not a natural left back. You have to play Neve Charles. And I
yeah.
understand that Neve Charles is not exactly like a defensive stopper, but they needed her to run with Cascarino in that spot. And then
Yep.
obviously DNE comes on and it's just like, okay, welcome to a new set of problems.
Mm,
But I think, and obviously I gave my idea for the England 11 in the preview to this tournament. I think it has to be Neve Charles who has to get out there. And now you have Jess Carter as a possible sub for center back,
right.
late in games. So um, to your point though, when you look at it and you look at the other defenders on the bench, Esme Morgan, Lotte Woman-Moy, Maya Letitia, we got a lot of center backs. We got a couple people you could conceivably put at right back if Lucy Bronze gets tired, which I don't think she does for the record. But I don't feel awesome about those defensive substitutes, but they're not bad either. So, sorry, I'm doing a little bit of a dance here, but I see your point on when you look at like who's coming into the match. Though that's what we have, and maybe if you move Charles in, having Jess Carter as an option maybe makes you a little more a little more flexible. And Ella Toon coming on. England played better when Charles and Toon came on the field. That's just flat out like
1,000%. I think Chloe Kelly, Chloe Kelly wasn't really a real game breaker, but Beth Mead, I thought, had a real rocky 60 minutes in this one.
It's quiet,
just kind of involved in a lot of those like miscues, those unforced errors that you were talking about. Just like, oh my God, come on. Like, and then it echoed in my head, like the idea of like club form kind of has to matter. And then I'm just I'm like, okay, if you're Wiegman, we know when you expand out the time horizon, what Beth Mead has done and Chloe Kelly has done, it makes it a little trickier. But I think in more recent history, I can't imagine looking at like that sample size of like the last 6 months or 8 months or 12 months to be like, all right, well, let's play. I mean, there's so much more information that we don't have. Long story short, Wiegman, I think, has got a lot of work to do to figure out what happens, and not a lot of time to do it, to your point.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Now we have to see what Lauren James' fitness is going to look like in this upcoming game. I'll take one take chip and say, and I know they're not similar type of players. I gotta think we're gonna get some Jess Park minutes in this Netherlands match.
Got to. No, they need her dynamism in the midfield for sure. Let's shift gears though. Speaking of that Netherlands match, Wales 0, Netherlands 3. It felt like we were going to be in for maybe like a knockdown drag out, and then it quickly became more of like a back to business kind of situation for the Netherlands, and they take care of things with a great 3 points over the debutantes.
Yeah, let me unmute there. Wow. Okay. Sleepy
Collect
Boys
yourself.
podcast. Yeah, I really, you gave me a lot to chew on there. Sorry about that. So, shout to Wales. That was a tough 43 minutes. And yep. I don't mean that to like be a jerk or whatever, but like Netherlands has a distinct talent advantage. Our pal Leanne Sanderson was not shy about that. She knows ball. She's not going to sugarcoat any of this stuff. She knows all the players. She can level with all of them if they ever say anything to her about it. Mm-hmm. Like that's just what it was. And they hung tough for a while. And the one question that I'm leaving this match with, just to kind of pivot to the first point early, and we talked about it in the preview. We talked about it when we made our predictions. And I couldn't help but leave this match asking, are we going to get a bunch of Viviana Miedema supernova performances?
I mean, I think we got one.
We got the first one.
We definitely got one. The game absolutely changed, when Miedema scores, sort of like right before halftime, real backbreaker of a goal. And I think they kind of switched up what they were doing a little bit and started to play a little bit more through Miedema, like just kind of, hey, get down there and like look for stuff that's happening in and around you. I think Roord had a chance. Brooks had a look. Van de Donk obviously involved as well. Miedema 9 for 9 though on passes, gets the massive goal, and it just felt like the pressure was released. When that ball hits the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, she's another. She's one of the greatest players who ever lived. At this point, anybody would comfortably say that. But she's just one of those players who can meet the moment. And so, like, getting that release before halftime, kind of, we talk about in these first matches, it can be a little nervy, especially for the clubs that have a ton of expectations. And Netherlands has expectations because of their footballing culture, because of the talent that everybody knows they have, because of their FIFA ranking, all that stuff. And you just rely on your superstar to do the thing. And football is a great sport because, like, you could sort of see it in the NBA where sometimes, like, if, like, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, if he, like, makes a deep three, or if, like, Steph Curry makes, like, a deep three right before the half, like, that can be, like, a little deflating, but it's like, there's so much scoring in basketball. There's so many possessions, all that stuff. That's different. Football has a unique piece to it. Maybe hockey is like sort of similar, where like right before the break, when one team scores, everything changes for both sides. And the way she did it too, of just like, you and I talk about putting players in the blender. She put that Welsh defender in the industrial powered washing machine. That was like, she completely turns her around and then, as cool as you like, scores it. And then that's what you have to go into halftime with.
Yeah, unbelievable moment. I thought she was awesome. It sort of took them a minute to kind of be like, all right, well, let's kind of feed Miedema here. And
Right.
I'm glad you brought up the NBA, because the comp that I had for Miedema, I think she's
guess.
got a little. I think Jokic.
Okay. All right. No. All right. That's good. I like it. I was
Yeah.
going to say Durant because of just like the unbelievable skill, but Jokic has unbelievable skill. Tell me more. Tell me why.
I think it's understanding the moment, IQ off the charts, like knowing when to, there's goal scorers that are just like, I'm going to let it rip. I got to look, I'm going to let it rip. But to your point, what she does on that one, the touch here, to touch, to bring it back in, like outside, inside, and then like take another half a beat before just sticking and just really making it about the placement. It's just like,
Yeah.
that's a genius. This is somebody operating mentally at just playing a different game. Nobody else is playing the same game that she's playing. Yeah, it reminded me of Jokic, because after the goal, Miedema then starts kind of like distributing and being more of like a centerpiece focal point of the offense, which was awesome to see.
100%. And I want to make sure that I mention that defender, Rhiannon Roberts, 34-year-old defender, plays at Real Betis, spent 5 years at Liverpool, good run in the WSL. So, a good player, a good veteran player, and just has no chance in that scenario. And you can't blame any defender going up against Miedema there. I want to point out another player kind of later in their stages who we've obviously talked a lot about, covering the Champions League, talking about Lyon. Daniela Vanderdonk had herself a match today. I thought she was fantastic.
Incredible. I mean, 6 touches in the opposition box, 3 chances created, involved in pretty much everything. She gets the assist, to the Palova. When you close your eyes and think about Vanderdonk, all the Vanderdonk plays, they're all over the field. They're like everywhere. Like they're deep in the corner. They're at the halfway line. They're up the sidelines. She was just everywhere. Super engaged, and played really, really well off her teammates today.
That's such a good point. Yeah, she is everywhere. That pass that she hits in to Palova, and it looked like, maybe I'm like overanalyzing something that's simple, but when Palova makes the first touch and it like pops up like that, no way that's intentional, right? Like that pass just came up on her too fast.
I think so. Maybe a little rust there, but I thought you're talking about the Palova goal, right? 48.
Yeah.
It was funny because I think JP De La Camera, who had some interesting takes, I'll say today. He kept trying to kind of push this narrative that was like, oh well, even though the Netherlands are up 2-0, I don't think they've looked that great. And I'm like, dude, what great? Wales can't even shoot. They can't even get a shot. They can't even like string 2 passes together. Like I think Netherlands is doing every single thing they wanted. Roared, fucking hits the post. Felt like 25 times. Hurunen hits the post later. I thought they were pretty incredible. But on that play, Della Camera's like, what is Wales doing defensively here? It's like Vanderdonk walks it in. Nobody's on Palova, and then they pan out, and Miedema is there. She's got 3 defenders just touching her, like within touching. That's what happened. Like everybody's just kind of stopped Miedema, and that was right after halftime. To your point, she gets in your head. That's all you can think about, and then what happens? Vanderdonk walks it in, 2-0, game's over. Pretty much at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she has gravity. Whatever nerd term we want to use, that's who Viv Miedema is. I'm glad you mentioned Jill Roord. My pal from Manchester City Football Club, who I love watching play and who I believe is a very good player.
Love Jill Roord.
She hit the crossbar. I think it was okay. She hits the inside of the right post in the 35th minute.
Yep.
And then in the 52nd minute, she tests the load-bearing strength of the crossbar. I mean, she's just hitting rockets. You and I have been talking about this as we've watched her play for City for a while now. And so I just had to look, because we talk about players who calibrate. She gets a decent amount of chances. I want to read some stats here from this past WSL season. So she was number 7 in the league in non-penalty XG.
Mhm.
She's number 9 in the league in total shots on target. She is number 65 in shots on target percentage with 36.2%. She gets opportunities. She gets into dangerous areas. She puts her foot all the way through the ball in a lot of these chances. It's just you're not quite sure where it's going. Think of like this is an old man reference, but think of like a younger Randy Johnson pitching for the Mariners, where it's like this dude is dealing, but sometimes he doesn't quite know where it's going. And I feel like Jill Roord has a lot of that in her game.
It's like a younger oil can Boyd. Sure. I'm not even sure
you
if
remember what. I don't know. You remember when he played, I'm sure.
I just wanted to get off an oil can Boyd. Well, I guess let's get into it. I mean, dude, enough kind of dancing around. England, Netherlands.
I just don't think Keira Walsh is going to have 2 bad games in a row. And I know she scored the goal. It's a bad game from her. Like the goal salvaged the game. And do 100%. I think Stanway's going to have 2 bad games in a row? I don't think so. I think Alex Greenwood could be better, should be better. They're going to have to not allow, and this is easier said than done, but you have to try to limit the danger that Miedema creates around her, and try to push her into areas where she can't absolutely ruin your defense. And I think England I know England has enough talent to do that, but again, it's easier said than done. They have to execute it. I think we're in for a world-class match on Wednesday. Like, I cannot wait to watch it because you have the defending European champions, the holders, and this is as much of a must-win as you can face in the tournament. Don't have any more time. You have to win.
Yeah, I mean, well, if they lose, it's over. They're eliminated. Like, just
you're done
mathematically. If they draw, they're in just a world of hurt at that point. Even though they do have Wales at the end that they could try to see if they could make up some ground, but I don't know, they could be in big trouble at that point. I think it's going to come down to the defense, honestly, because I think the Netherlands, seeing what they did offensively, striking the ball, they're a scarier team than France. Like they've just got killers there. I mean, Roar, that Groenen shot, Esme Brooks, like the Brooks goal, where who's the ball coming from? I think you said it was Palova.
It's Palova, yeah. Our pals at FootMob, we might have to. Let me not speak out of turn. Let me make sure that they didn't correct it. The last I saw, they credited Van de Donk with the assist, and I am certain that's not correct because she's standing inside the 18. I believe the cross came from Palova.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right about that. So, but that one, what was interesting was Vika Kaptein, like basically does a full circle, rotating around Esme Brooks, and basically drags the defender away from Brooks, which is kind of why she's able to just be by herself. And when the ball reaches Brooks that close to the goal, let me check.
It's a goal.
The XG, my calculations are correct, 1.0 at that point. If she gets the ball there. So, but I think the point I'm making is like the movement in the 18, and like I think that has the potential to really give England fits. And when they're just like unleashing those strikes, they're so dangerous. I think it could be big trouble. But I think I agree with you. I could see like a 2-1, 2-2 late kind of classic style match. And we, now it's like really in the balance, and we really see kind of this England side with their back to the wall.
We're going to see a Russo goal. Let me just, let me put my take chip on that right now. And, as she's scoring it, I will hear our pal Chris Sharples from DAZN going, Russo! So I look forward to that. No matter who the announcer is, I will be hearing our pal Chris. Shout out to you, Chris. And I think that the big players, especially the people who are on that Euro winning team, they're going to have to show out. I mean, there's There's no other, like you said, you are finished if you lose. And if you draw, you don't want to go into match day 3 needing some help. It's just like, especially if it's, it's going to be France and Netherlands, and they're going to kind of be in this situation of like, okay, nobody get hurt. Let's get ready for the knockout stage. You don't know what kind of weird stuff could happen if they just walk in there and just, draw 1-1. You can't rely on that.
If France beats Wales, they're at 6 and they're through.
And they're already in.
So, you got to question what kind of motivation, that the turnaround times are so gnarly in this tournament that you can imagine them kind of resting some of those players. The last kind of X factor that I'll mention from the Netherlands, Lynette Bierenstein, who...
She played all right, huh? She looked pretty good.
Fired a warning shot for anybody paying attention, and it was so cool because I think she might have known she was offside, but she hammered that ball so hard. And then she kind of sees the flag and she kind of smiles like, "Keep playing with me, keep playing with me, keep letting me like rip shots from here, see what happens." An absolute killer off the bench. I wish that one would have counted. Another one. There's something about these Netherlands, ball strikers, Gio Roord, Lynette Bierenstein, little unlucky, I think, seemingly. So maybe that's something that turns this tournament. Maybe that's something that persists. We'll see.
Dino De Cespedes, of all people in the world, admitting that sometimes footballers get unlucky. Did I hear that correctly?
It's a learning podcast, bro. What are we going to do? I'm learning. What, you going to get on me for learning? What are we doing?
No. Before you had told me, like, you didn't ever want to hear anything about being unlucky. So, okay, I like this. This is a great development.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't think I don't think Roord was unlucky for hitting the woodwork a couple times, but I think a player that good, able to get that close and not really cash in. I think it's just a matter of time is maybe more my official stance.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, she had those stats for City. I mean, where she's just like all over, like hitting shots. She had 5 goals, 3 assists. I'm doing the assists off the top of my head. I think it was 5 goals, 3 assists. With that number of shots, with that number of shots on target, yeah, she's just not the most accurate shooter. It's just, it's hard to say that. But the one that hit the inside of the post, it's funny, like because you see shots go off the post and like they'll hit like dead center of the post and kind of bounce back. She really hit the true inside of the post to where it took that like goofy bounce cat corner off the other side. There's one more Dutch player I want to mention, Sharita Spitza. Obviously, we are Sharita Spitza admirers on this podcast. Ajax legend, 35-year-old defender. I like the idea of the Dutch just saying, Sharita, can you give us 20 every game? Yep. You're on the last legs of your career. Can you give us 20? Can you give us 25 if we need it? And I love it. She comes on. She's a leader. She has everybody's respect. Everybody knows how tough, how smart she is. It's just such a nice weapon to have on your team, and especially in a tournament like this.
Good. Yeah, goodness. I mean, I'm just realizing she replaced, and I didn't have a chance to look up the pronunciation of the first name, Vio Boerman, who had an awesome game. 14 passes into the final third, was just everywhere defensively. I'm looking at her profile now. 19 years old and part of the Chelsea organization. Didn't know either of those two things. Does not play like a 19-year-old. I'm a little shocked by that because I thought she was fantastic today at the center back position. And then imagine being able to bring Spitza on to kind of spell either of those center backs. What a luxury.
Yeah, it's huge. And I mean, her, Bierenstein, I thought Chastity Grant had some moments, and Lynn Vilms. I mean, they got depth on this team. So you called it out from the beginning. You picked them to make the semifinal, if I recall correctly, or you picked them to make it out of the group at least.
Yeah, out of the group.
And yeah, that's looking extremely possible. And you mentioned the Brutes goal. We should also just mention her match as a whole was fantastic. I mean, she's a killer out there.
Yeah, 82 touches, 12 passes into the final third, and I think she was still underutilized. I think you could still almost get her double the touches, and it wouldn't make a difference. I mean, like you would just be better off for it. Cannot wait for England and Netherlands to lock up. The stakes don't get higher, so I'm super pumped about that. All right, man. Our 12 days of UEFA Women's Euros 2025 group stage football coverage plows ahead. 4 down, 8 to go. 33.3% repeating, according to my math.
Nice.
We're recording this on Saturday night. So in this version of Space Time, Group A is back in action tomorrow. The early match, Norway versus Finland. Sign me up for that.
Let's go.
I think somebody might be getting into the quarterfinals tomorrow from those two sides. And then the late match, Switzerland takes on Iceland. All right, man. I think we did it. We took a little longer than planned, but that's all right. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I mean, France-England is a massive match. Netherlands is great. I think this being our longest match day one. I don't know how you do the math. I consider all of these match day one because it's match day one for each team that's playing. I don't know how you do it, but whatever it is, this one warranted the longer episode. We'll see what tomorrow looks like. Obviously, when Norway punches their ticket to advance into the knockout stage. That's absolutely 100% happening. So yeah, we'll see how long that goes, but I think we've done it for tonight, my good man.
Love it. All right, man. This has been an episode of Into the Channel. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love Women's Football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking in with us each and every single week. Like, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials, except one, in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grand Angle, for stepping up. His team didn't quite deliver, but my guy delivered as per usual. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. I mean, I'm a Norway supporter, so we're looking great. I don't know what else you could possibly be referencing. But no, yeah, thank you, everybody, for rocking with us. The feedback has been awesome on these kind of daily shows, so thank you, everybody, for checking it out with us. Please keep dropping knowledge in the comments, and we will see you all next time.